Hello everyone, welcome to Talk Wrestling here on NoDQ.com and of course NoDQCW on YouTube. Thank you all for your patience. I know the show is going up on Friday again this week. I'm sorry. I want to make sure I got to watch Smackdown, and then it was late in the day Friday when I filmed this because, well, I have a life. I got a kid. What can I say? I'm trying to take care of the boy. Let's get right into Raw results. The show started with the Battle Royal to determine the number one contender for the Miz's Intercontinental Championship, and after a very underwhelming, I thought, Battle Royal. I felt that it could have been a lot better, and I think that given where they went with Smackdown on this, as far as the Miz's approach to Darren Young and Bob Backlund, that Darren Young should have won more convincingly. Because, like Miz pointed out during Miz TV on Smackdown Thursday night, Darren kind of happened into the win, I guess, shall we say. He very much happened into the fact that the other two guys that were in that match with him at the end eliminated each other and ended up giving him the win. It was very, very anticlimactic is the word I'm looking for. Just didn't really seem like it was a true Battle Royal win. It just seemed kind of like it was, oh, okay, Darren won, woohoo, good for him. Of course, Backlund celebrated like a big old baby, which was awesome. He seen a 60 or whatever, a 70-something-year-old man pick up a grown man like Darren Young is impressive. Bob Backlund is crazy strong. It is crazy how much he is still in shape after all these years in that former two-time WWF champion, WWE champion, whatever you want to call him. Then we went into the plug for the Rollins report with Roman Reigns as the guest. I don't know. I liked the Rollins report. I liked the first episode of the Rollins report. I thought it was funny. I thought it was very, very well done. I thought that if the rumors are true and Vince is all bent out of shape at Reigns continuously for this drug, whatever the hell happened to him, then I think it's a great way to rib him and go, you know what, dude, you screwed up, but you're still gonna be part of the show, and you have to just take these lumps and enjoy them. You gotta like your lumpy mashed potatoes for a while because it's just the way it's gonna be. What I didn't like after that was the segment with Rusev and Ryder, in that basically Ryder has been challenging Rusev to the U.S. Championship match, and then Sheamus just completely lays out Ryder and says, I got you in the ring. He goes in the ring, he beats Ryder, and then we see Rusev come down and lock in that super accolade on him. I accept your challenge! I accept your challenge! I accept your challenge! All big and Bulgarian-like. And then we go to Smackdown, and even with a little bit of help from Ryder in a certain way, the bottom line is Dolph Ziggler beat Rusev on Smackdown. Does that not make Dolph Ziggler the number one contender to the U.S. Championship? In my day, in my time, when I was watching growing up, if somebody beat the champion in a non-title match, they were automatically penciled in for a championship match, whether it was the World Championship, the Intercontinental Championship, or the Tag Team Championship. If the champions lost to any challenger or any potential challenger in a non-title match, they were automatically written in as a championship contender. So what I would do is either triple threat at Battleground, even though we have a triple threat already for the WWE Championship, or get Ryder out of the way and put Ziggler in there and have Ziggler lose convincingly to Rusev, and then have Ryder beat Rusev at SummerSlam. That's what I would do. Then you had another weird tag team match in the fact that Breezango, or as I call him, Febreze, actually won a tag team match. Febreze went in there against the former NXT tag team champions and former U.S. champion in Kalisto, the Lucha Dragons, and they beat them on Raw. Breeze and Fandango won the match on Raw, and it wasn't even like it was. I don't remember any shenanigans from what I remember. Again, this is all my recollection, but I don't remember anything really out of the ordinary for that kind of match. I think Breezango just beat him. And again, you know, you got a draft coming up next week, and for me, I would honestly and truthfully not split up hot tag teams. I would not split up New Day or Febreze or Lucha Dragons or any of them. I would definitely keep those guys together. Do what Aaron and I did in our draft and keep teams together, keep stables together, and draft them accordingly. Not just one at a time, pick them off like fish in a barrel, so to speak. I would definitely avoid doing that. Then you had Sami Zayn come out for commentary. And you had Kevin Owens at the top of the ramp behind at gorilla position, whining and complaining because it was unsafe working environment and he wanted Sammy out of there and blah, blah, blah. And then Stephanie comes in and basically overrides Shane, saying that, Kevin's right. So they go down to the ring, they escort Sammy out, and then I think Kevin threw the first punch, and they got into a huge brawl, and they split them apart and everything. And then Owens and Cesaro had their match, and that went into commercial. Before they went to commercial break, before the match started, Mr. McMahon arrived, saying, I've got a huge announcement. I'm going to name the new commissioner of Smackdown Live. So we're not going to have any more COOs of the brands. We're going to have commissioners, which makes no sense to me, because commissioner was always below COO, below general manager, things like that. So very interesting to see how they go with that. Kevin Owens wins the match. Decent match between Owens and Cesaro, but again, Sami Zayn attacks him after the match. Owens takes off, and then Cesaro gave the Cesaro swing after the fact. I thought that was pretty funny. Not surprised that Titus O'Neil won the next match. Sorry about that. So Titus O'Neil won the next match. Titus needs more convincing wins. He needs to have more matches where he's just going out there and just raising hell and kicking ass, taking names. He's that big a guy as far as stature where he should not be losing to guys like the guy he faced on Monday night, Heath Slater. No reason for that whatsoever. He should be just dominating all these guys. Then we get to the match, the segment that has been the talk of controversy on my Twitter feed, and the ones who get me in trouble, comparing it to the final deletion. Oh, jeez. New Day and the Wyatts had their huge brawl at the Wyatt compound. I didn't like the Hardy thing. I didn't like the New Day Wyatt thing. I think it is so... It's beyond the realm of even sports and entertainment hokey. It's just hokey for the sake of hokey. It's so ridiculous that we would even believe this actually would take place. Granted, we're supposed to suspend disbelief during these 2 or 3 hours each and every week. 5 for WWE, 2 for Impact. But how can you believe that this would actually happen in a PG environment in that? Are we supposed to believe that Vince McMahon would allow his talent to actually compete in this kind of scenario? I don't think so. I really don't. I think that's kind of ridiculous. So for me, that was just so silly. So silly. The whole thing was just ridiculous. Then you had the tag team match. You had the club with AJ Styles against Enzo and Cass, and they were talking backstage about that Cena didn't care about Enzo and Cass. He was in LA out here doing the ESPYs, which was Wednesday night. He was rehearsing for the ESPYs, so there was no way he would be in town for Raw, and then he left Enzo and Cass out to dry and whatever. And then during the course of the match, Styles attacked Big Cass on the outside and ended up disqualification win for Enzo and Cass. And as the club was beating up the 2 new guys from NXT, here comes John Cena. Music blaring, t-shirt off, the whole thing, and Cena's there. And you know that Cena was on a plane immediately from LA, right back to, I forget where Raw was this week, but all the way back there, and then all the way back to LA for the ESPYs on Wednesday. The guy is a machine. I don't care if you are sitting there in front of your computer and like John Cena or not. I like John Cena. And I like the fact that he is working so hard and doing so much to get these guys, Enzo and Cass, and even the club over. The club doesn't need to be over. The club is over, but they need the WWE over. They need WWE rub. And who better to give it than the face that runs the place? And John Cena is the face that runs the place. There is no doubt about that. And for him to make a flight out from LA for the ESPYs just for a run-in, literally a run-in segment, says something about how much he really does care about WWE and about these new talent guys. Dana Brooke loses to Sasha Banks. Charlotte says that Sasha got lucky, and then we saw a rematch on SmackDown, and I believe Sasha won again. Yes, she did. And then what happened? Charlotte attacks Sasha from behind, basically, and just obliterates her at the announce table. Nearly throws her into Mauro Ranallo, who had to scurry away like a bat out of hell. Oh, that was pretty damn funny. But will Sasha be ready in time for the next Monday night, which is Raw? Will she be competitive ready? I can't even talk. I'm so tongue-tied today. She'll probably be ready in time for SummerSlam. That's what they're shooting for, because they already have a women's match on Battleground, that being Natty versus Becky. But they are talking about a tag team match between Dana and Charlotte versus Sasha and a mystery partner. They've not announced that yet, I don't believe. But the big talk is going to be Bayley. And wouldn't it be something if Bayley was finally called up and all four of the four horsewomen were actually up on the main roster doing their thing? That'd be so awesome. Main event, if you want to call it that, of Raw, which also, the fact that the actual in-ring main event, the wrestling main event, was the women's match, I thought that was pretty cool. But the in-ring segment main event was the McMahons, and the fact that Vince McMahon announced that Shane McMahon is the commissioner of SmackDown Live. But the commissioner of the flagship show, the Juggernaut, Monday Night Raw, is Stephanie McMahon. He totally, in one fell swoop, just buried SmackDown as an entire brand, because his inflection in his voice when he announced that it was going to be Shane McMahon doing SmackDown was very nonchalant, the commissioner of SmackDown Live is, while when he announced Stephanie as the commissioner of Raw, the Juggernaut, the flagship, the lead-in show, whatever the hell he said that with purpose and intent. And now we're going to have not only Stephanie running Raw, she'll have a general manager, as will Shane. Is it not going to be Triple H? Come on, let's be real. Is the Authority not going to be back in charge of Raw after all this time of being fair-minded and whatnot? Ever since Shane came back, are we going to see a return of the Authority? Yes, we are. I really believe that. We'll find out come Monday. But Shane McMahon is going to be in charge of SmackDown. And we saw him throughout SmackDown Thursday night, talking to Becky and talking to R-Truth and talking to somebody else. I forget who it was now. But he's talking to the talent. So we'll see who he drafts on Monday. He's going to Tuesday. Excuse me. We're drafting Tuesday. He's going to announce on Monday who his general manager is going to be. I'm very intrigued to see who Shane is going to pick as his general manager, because he really needs to find somebody that I think is going to give him a run for his money in terms of making him think on his feet and making him really challenge him. Whereas the Authority is probably going to be in charge of Raw. There'll be no challenge whatsoever. It's going to be the Iron Fist again of Triple H, Stephanie McMahon. So it'd be nice to see a babyface sort of competitive nature between Commissioner Shane and general manager fill in the blank. I am up for the running, by the way. I'd love to be in charge of SmackDown with Shane. Shane, you know how to get a hold of me. On SmackDown, we saw this. Okay, the last match of the night on Raw was Sasha versus Dana. The first match of SmackDown was Sasha versus Dana. And Sasha, of course, made Dana tap out the bank statement once again. I mentioned that earlier. And then Charlotte attacked her. Dolph Ziggler beat Rusev. I mentioned that earlier. Ryder did distract Rusev, but if you're the United States champion, you got to make sure you know you're on your toes. You can't be distracted by simple peons like Ryder, right, Rusev? Right, baby? That's what I'm saying. AJ and Carl Anderson defeated Enzo and Cass. Enzo tapped out to the calf crusher after Luke Gallows kind of ran interference and did that. No John Cena in sight, so the club was able to win. Kalisto picks up the redemption win over Tyler Breeze of Febreze by beating him on SmackDown. Dean Ambrose and Kevin Owens ended up in disqualification because of Rollins' interference. And we had a tag team match, and it ended up being Rollins and Owens defeating Ambrose and Sami Zayn. And Rollins beat Zayn with the pedigree. So that's how SmackDown ended up. Tuesday night, or actually Wednesday, because I for some reason I did not purposely do this. This is not some sort of weird thing that my head decided to do with my DVR, but it's not just Impact. A lot of stuff did not tape on my DVR this week. I know my Match Game reruns didn't tape. I know my show at 11:30 here on the West Coast didn't tape. A lot of stuff is not taping. So I don't know if it's just my DVR. I have to call my cable provider and find out what the hell's going on. But I did see Impact, courtesy of a streaming site. I did see that Wednesday afternoon. And not a bad show. Not near the degree of horrificness, horribleness, whatever you want to call it, that it was last week. I liked the start of the show with DJZ winning the X Division ladder match to become the number one contender. I didn't like that Mike Bennett followed through on his attempt to ruin Destination X by taking out the number one contender right away and saying that he was just not done. Then we had Borash in the ring with Lashley and Eddie Edwards. Davey Richards made his return, which is awesome. I always like seeing the Wolves back together, and Davey Richards is an awesome talent. We saw him out here the very first Adrenaline show. I believe he either won the first night tournament or he was close up there. I've seen him at PWG. I've seen him. Davey's great, and I'm glad to see him return to TNA. Hopefully he'll be back more often. The whole Bram, Decay, Rosemary thing played out very, very weirdly. Even Bram, I think, seems confused, to be honest with you. Not sure what's going on there. I did like the Knockouts match, the Sienna, the Sienna, God, I apologize. Sienna retaining the championship over Jade, Marty Bell, and then the Hall of Famer to be Gail Kim. I'd like to see more than just one storyline with the girls. I know we have Sienna being champion, and then we have the Marty Bell, Jade, kind of spin-off there with them just hating each other, and that's great. But I don't think the girls get as much attention as they used to on TNA's wrestling show. Hopefully with the move to Thursday starting next week, we will see more of that. The Hardy saga continued. We saw Matt put the charred remains of Brother Nero in the lake with dilapidated boat. We saw a viewing party for the final deletion with Matt and Rebby's, whatever the hell, Rebby Sky, whatever the hell her name is, favorite people, and the kids seemed frightened. The kids seemed to be frightened in that whole scenario, which is so ridiculous. And then Matt went to Impact and called out Jeff, and then said that he's no longer Jeff. He's not anything, and that he's going to make his life hell, and that he's going to be Matt's obsolete work mule. And then his wife made it very clear. She kept saying obsolete, 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 obsolete over and over. I had to mute the TV because my dad was in the next room going, "What the fuck?" It was horrible. It was horrible. So there was that, and pretty much that's the tone. That was the worst part of the show. DJZ beat Mike Bennett, which was awesome to see. Drew and EC3 had a kind of fight in the middle of the ring, and then they followed in the arena. It just got ugly quickly. And then in the main event, Eddie Edwards and Lashley went to a no contest when the debut of Moose, the long-standing standout, that's a lot of standings there, from Ring of Honor, debuted at the side of Mike Bennett and ended up being Bennett and Moose did indeed ruin Destination X because they stood tall at the end of Impact. But Dixie Carter was not done yet because the fans will get an outcome they can be proud of next week on Impact, the first Thursday night back on Pop, the first Thursday back on Thursday nights, now on Pop, if I can get that out straight, will be in 6 Sides of Steel between Lashley and Eddie. So that's how TV ended up this week. Let's get to your questions with the draft coming up this Tuesday night on Smackdown on USA Network. Live to the East Coast, not to us because we suck. But let's get to your draft questions. Let's get to those first of all. First one comes from the Daniel Allen at Daniel Allen 445. Are WWE right to keep us guessing with what might happen with the brand split, or should they be telling us more? I don't see a problem necessarily with them keeping us in the dark, if you will, so to speak. I don't mind the fact that they seem to enjoy keeping us dangled out there with a carrot in front of us going, let's see what we can do next. Because you know what? That's what keeps us tuned in every Monday and now every Tuesday live on Raw and SmackDown. And I think that the less we know going in, the more surprised we will be come Tuesday night. So I think that's awesome to do that. That's just me. Greg Cherrero, buddy, if you could choose any announcers from any time period to become tiers for each show in the draft, who would you pick? Well, the easy choice is for Raw, JR and the King. SmackDown-wise, if we're going from any era whatsoever, I would bring back Gorilla and Bobby. Although I could definitely interchange those two teams for either show, because both shows are probably going to be sports entertainment heavy, more so than wrestling heavy. And I know that Gorilla and Bobby are much more sports entertainment heavy than are JR and the King. But honestly, if I had to pick teams from the era in which we've had drafts and rankings and whatnot, I would put Cole and JBL on SmackDown, and I would put JR and the King on Raw. That's what I would do, Greg. Jonathan Salter on Twitter. Hey, Jeff, rumors are true. Which former stars would you hire back for the brand split? Mine are Shelton Benjamin and John Morrison. Easily those two. Shelton Benjamin and John Morrison are two of the most athletic guys I ever saw live or on WWE television, period. They are amazing talents, both of them. I'd like to see Charlie Haas come back as well as Shelton Benjamin, reform the world's greatest tag team and have them... that'd be awesome to see, personally. I think I'd like to see that a lot. Who else? Morrison, like I said, Morrison would be great. Melina, if she is ready to compete in a women's division, she'd be a great addition to either show, challenging the women's champion. She's a great former women's champion, former Divas champion. That'd be awesome to see. Let's see. A Wrestling Fan at Wrestling6798. What surprising NXT 2 wrestlers could you see being drafted? I think Alexa and Ty Dillinger are ready and have been for a while. Alexa Bliss is ready. Ty Dillinger is ready. Bayley's ready. Finn Balor's ready. Samoa Joe has been ready. He was ready when he came over, but he might want to reign as NXT champion for a little longer. Bobby Roode is ready. I know he just started NXT this week, but he's ready now. What would be awesome is if they brought James Storm back to NXT and WWE and brought him up with Bobby and had them be beer money in WWE or some sort of team like that. They can't say beer money, but call them whatever you want to call them. But those two guys as a tag team. Let's see here. David Anderson. Which member of the Shield, if any, should be drafted to SmackDown? Personally, I think all of them should be on the same brand. When I did my draft, I put... See, I cheated. And I admit I cheated when I redid my draft here recently. I put it on Twitter. For those of you who aren't on my Twitter, twitter.com/_Jeff Meacham. I think my pin tweet right now is my draft picks. And I put Ambrose on both shows. He's the champion. I put Rollins and Reigns on Raw. So, in theory, I put all three guys on both shows. But I personally like to see them split up and doing different things once, like SummerSlam ends. Because we're going to get the triple threat at Battleground. I like to see that be the end of it and have them be on separate shows going forward. Like, if they have Rollins and Reigns on Raw, then have Ambrose be on SmackDown. Have one of them be on SmackDown. Have two of them be on one show. That way we can have a little bit of something after that, but not too much more going forward. This is from... So, by the way, that was from David Anderson, at XDavidAnderson1. This one is from Mike, at PunkFan123. With the brand split happening, can you see all four horsewomen being on the same show or different? I see Sasha Banks and Charlotte on Raw, then Bayley and Becky on SmackDown. I currently have my favorites on... I picked my show with SmackDown. That's what I did when I did my draft. And I had Sasha and Becky and Charlotte on SmackDown. I like your idea of having two of them on Raw and two of them on SmackDown, though, Mike. That way we get different matches for different eras. And eventually we come to WrestleMania and have all four of them meet on the grand stage. That would be awesome. This is from Harry Flynn, at DeHarris here. Thoughts on Billie Kay being called to the main roster? I'm not sure if Billie was called up or if she just had that one-off match. She had a great match. I forget who she faced now. That's awful. But she made a good showing. And I don't know if Billie Kay is going to be a name enough value to Shane or Stephanie for them to call her up. I don't see that happening. For me, I would prefer, Sasha and Becky and Dana and Emma, Maurice if she wrestles, and Natalya and Summer Rae and Naomi and Tamina when she's healthy, and even Marie even to a certain extent, and Alicia Fox now she's back, and Paige and Lana if she wrestles, and Nikki Bella if she comes back. I like to see those girls get the time and have Asuka and the NXT women get their time in NXT before being called up. That's just what I would do. Damn heel at Adam of NWO. Wow. Do you think it'd be a good move if the turning heel Roman Reigns wins the title going into the brand split? As much as they are not high on Roman Reigns at this point, I don't see them actually turning him heel. But it would be something if he was to regain the championship after all the heat that's been on him the last month or so. If he was to regain the championship at Battleground and then head into the first full week of the draft as the WWE champion, I'd be very surprised if that happened. All right, last one today comes from, let's see here, Gingy Tons of Fun at McFarlane J. Word is NXT is sending a lot of stars to the main roster. Do you see a lot more Ring of Honor and TNA stars being signed? Actually, I do, but not by WWE. McFarlane, or Jay, or whatever you want to call yourself. Gingy Tons of Fun. Might be the weirdest one yet. It just might be. No, I personally am seeing a lot more of the talent being signed by TNA and Ring of Honor. You notice every once in a while you'll see a huge influx of social media posts by TNA, especially by Dixie Carter, saying that we re-signed this person, this girl, and that girl, and this guy, and that guy. And they get really high on it. They get really giddy, if I think of the word right, about the fact that they re-signed somebody, because they're not signing a lot of people. They managed to get James Storm back into the TNA fold after him kind of dibbling his fingers there in NXT for a while. I'd like to see him go back to NXT or even go back to WWE and team up with Bobby Roode to form Beer Money again. That'd be awesome. One guy that did move from Ring of Honor to TNA was Moose. We talked about that earlier in the show. Moose was probably the hottest free agent they had in Ring of Honor, and TNA signed him. So that's why everybody said they didn't like me drinking water last week, because I'm thirsty and it's hot in this room. Love you guys. What I'd like to see is more of the independent guys get signed by TNA, Ring of Honor, and even WWE, because the indie guys are not making money. Some of them are, but a lot of them aren't. A lot of the guys are just, they're not, they're starving to make it, which is what you do in this business. You starve to make it. But I'd like to personally see TNA and Ring of Honor sign more of their talent. That way there's actual competition forming, hopefully, between those two companies, between those two and WWE, and WWE Ring of Honor, and WWE and TNA. And it'd be awesome to see a good, healthy dose of competition again in this business, because Lord knows the business needs it. Thank you all for watching. Next week, in lieu of Talk Wrestling, we'll be doing a Coast to Coast with Greg Cherry, the Pennsylvania sensation himself. We'll be talking about the draft, because we're going to tape on Wednesday. We're actually going to tape early in the week. Woo! I will probably go on later in the week to talk about Impact, because I'll watch Impact on Thursday nights. But next week's show is going to be Coast to Coast with Greg Cherry. We're going to talk about the draft, talk about the GMs, talk about the commissioners, talk about everything that happened on Monday and Tuesday nights. And we will get to you guys at Coast to Coast next week right here on NoDQ.com.